Protein and fiber are all the rage right now, as they should be. And many people are trying to find ways to get more protein or adequate protein and fiber into their diet. It can be challenging though if you are on a budget, because protein can be a hefty item on the grocery bill. Well, today I'm going to show you how we can meal prep or ingredient prep for food, but still keep it on a budget. And I'm going to do all of this in 1 hour. But surprisingly, I am not a huge meal prep person, mainly because I don't like the way that full meals meal prepped taste after you heat them back up. I think fresh meals taste way better. Now, if it comes to having a meal prepped meal or no healthy meal at all, of course I would choose the meal prep. But I also don't like to spend huge amounts of time in the kitchen at one time. I prefer just short little sessions if I'm going to meal prep. And I don't like full meals prepped. I prefer to prep components of meals. So maybe some beans or a grain or a roasted root vegetable or a grab-and-go breakfast item. One principle that I teach when coming up with a plan of any kind, whether you're meal prepping or just planning your meals for the week, is to always take inventory of what you already have and work around that. So, for example, this week, I could have gone out and bought some other kind of protein, but I already had chicken breasts in my freezer that I could use. So I decided to prep chicken breasts this week. Over the weekend, blueberries were on sale. The pints were a great price on their own, but they were also buy one, get one free. So I got 2 of them and decided to make blueberry muffins this week. I already had sweet potatoes that I really needed to use before they go bad. So I decided that would be one of the main vegetable items that I prepped. And roasted sweet potatoes hold up really well in the fridge after they're already cooked, and I don't mind the taste of those, and I can use them in several different ways, whether for breakfast or for lunch. I also already had a bag of dry black beans that were already in my pantry, so again, that's something I did not have to purchase, and I made the bulk beans that I can use for several different things like breakfast or for lunch, or putting it in a salad or mixing it with cooked quinoa. Speaking of quinoa, I had plans to also make a batch of quinoa in my Instant Pot as well, but I ran out of time. I gave myself an hour to get these things done today, and I was not able to do that within the hour. Now I may tomorrow decide, if I have an extra bit of time, I might make quinoa. It only takes about 8 minutes in the Instant Pot, and add that to my stash of quick fiber and protein rich ingredients in my fridge. And so pretty much everything that I made today that I prepped, I already had on hand, so I wasn't having to buy anything extra. It's almost like having free groceries and free prepped food. Of course, I had already purchased them once before, but it really saved on my grocery bill this week by just already using something that I already had instead of letting that go bad and throwing it away in a week or 2. I started on the beans first because they take the longest to cook. I went ahead and sorted them, made sure there was no debris in the beans, and then I just took them to the sink in a colander and rinsed them off really well under water, and then I put them in my Instant Pot. And here I have 30 minutes on the timer, but I actually cooked them for 40 minutes because they weren't quite done on 30 minutes. And I just covered them with water enough where it's like a couple inches above, and just put bay leaves and salt, and that was it. Next, I moved on to my chicken. I decided to use chicken breast today because that is what I had on hand. One of the principles that I teach is to use what you have. And while I would prefer another type of chicken breast is what I had, so that was what I used. Unfortunately, my chicken breasts were a little bit slightly frozen whenever I started this. Hey, that's real life. So I decided to butterfly them to make them cook a little bit faster. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just cutting partially through widthwise so they open up and lay flat and they cook a little faster that way. Then I just patted them dry with a paper towel and sprayed them with an olive oil spray that I get from Aldi, and then I just simply seasoned them. I change it up how I season my chicken frequently, but for this particular batch I just kept it fairly simple and just salt, pepper, and garlic powder, a little bit of Italian seasonings, and some paprika for color. It takes quite a bit of seasoning to make chicken or any kind of meat taste really flavorful. So my biggest advice is do not skimp on the seasonings. Don't be shy. It usually takes more than what you think. Next, I moved on to the sweet potatoes, and all I did here was just roughly chop them into cubes and put them on a parchment-lined baking sheet for easy cleanup. Drizzled a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper and called it good. The last thing I prepped were the blueberry banana muffins, and I just kept it simple here and used the Kodiak Power Cakes Flapjack and Waffle Mix. I used the muffin recipe that's on the back of the box, but instead of the milk, I substituted a half a cup of Greek yogurt, no-fat Greek yogurt, and a fourth a cup of water. So the full ingredients are 2 cups of Kodiak mix, a half a cup of low-fat Greek yogurt or no-fat Greek yogurt, a fourth cup of water, a half cup of brown sugar, a fourth a cup of melted butter, 2 mashed bananas, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of blueberries. Now by this time my chicken was done, and so I'm just checking the internal temperature to make sure that it has hit 165. And then I'll just let it rest on the counter before it's time to slice it up. Now everything is starting to roll out of the oven. Also, my muffins are done, my sweet potatoes are done, and my beans in the Instant Pot are also finished. So I am just about wrapping up my 1 hour ingredient prep session for the week. Now, what did I do with all this food? Well, the muffins we just ate on their own for breakfast or snacks. The chicken, the sweet potatoes, and the beans, I use them in a variety of ways, like quick bowls, quesadillas, or salads. I hope this gives you some ideas on how you might be able to incorporate cheap, healthy, protein and fiber-rich foods into your meal prep rotation for the week.